Hello and welcome. My name is Aaron Hathaway. I'm a Technical Services Manager with New Farm. Today we're here to talk about POA suppression in bentgrass fairways. So this is basically based on a trial that I've been conducting at a local golf course near me in Michigan. So I'm in Michigan, and I first want to start by saying this is not a program where you're going to see just Anuew bluegrass just die overnight and just smoke all that Anuew bluegrass. These truly are PGRs. They're PGR treatments that you're going to see here for the most part. And these PGR treatments, what they're doing is they're favoring one species over another if you use them in a very specific way. And so this favoring of one species over another, you don't really see a reduction of the other species until time goes by. You need a couple seasons at least to start to see that bentgrass take over this Anuew bluegrass as you favor the bentgrass over the Anuew bluegrass. So what this trial is it's actually been going on for 4 years, and I made applications of PGRs, different treatments, so different mixes of PGRs and PGRs on their own, applied every 2 weeks. And so when I say every 2 weeks, I really mean every 14 days I made these applications during the growing season. So in Michigan, that's about May through mid-October. I made applications every 2 weeks. And so mind you, especially in the shoulders of the season in the spring and in the fall when the temperatures were cooler, every 2 weeks may have been too often if you're following growing degree days. It's possible that I wasn't following growing degree days. I was simply applying every 2 weeks. And so I could have even had some stacking of these PGRs, which could have helped with the POA suppression. So we're looking primarily at a couple PGRs. Anuew EZ is a great Anuew bluegrass suppression PGR. Trimit is another one that's really good at suppressing POA or Anuew bluegrass. Of the list of PGRs that are out there, I think Anuew EZ and Trimit are the best POA suppressing PGRs. However, Anuew is a little bit lighter on everything than Trimit is. Trimit can often be heavy-handed in a lot of ways. Primo Max is in there at 11 fluid ounces per acre. This one actually increased POA populations over the 4 years, which I've seen in other trials as well, so not a huge surprise. I looked at different timings, so there's 1 year in which I included the snow mold timing of a few of the treatments, not all of them, but a few of them. And when I say snow mold timing, that's like mid-November when I made that application, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And the goal of this trial was twofold. I wanted to suppress POA, but I didn't want to have a low quality fairway. I wanted the quality of the fairway to be high. So if there were any treatments that I started at a specific rate and I just felt like it was too much, then I tweaked that rate. And so the rates that you're going to see in this treatment list is kind of where I ended up after the first year. And so again, I wanted to suppress POA over time, but I didn't want to have horrible looking fairways for these 4 years. I wanted to be high quality. So we'll look at both of those aspects. So this is the first graph, and what you're seeing here are box and whisker plots. And so let me explain what a box and whisker plot is. The reason I use them is because I have 4 years of data here. 4 years, in this case, I'm looking at percent POA cover. So the higher that box is, the more POA there was. But I'm looking at 4 years of evaluations in really one box for each treatment. So this is 18 evaluations over 4 years, all packed into these box and whisker plots. And so what you're seeing in this untreated box, you're seeing below this line, you're seeing 25% of the numbers or the data. Above that line, you're seeing 25% of the data. And then this top whisker, you're seeing 25% of the data. And then the last 25% of the data is in this bottom whisker. So box and whisker. It contains 100% of these 18 total evaluations over 4 years. So it gives you a really cool, quick look at what these different treatments did over these 4 years. If you see a box where it's a tighter box, it just means there's less variability in these numbers. So you see, these two have these long boxes, so you can see that POA was all over the place in the untreated plots. You got pretty low at some point, so probably in the heat of the summer, a lot of that POA just kind of disappeared, and then it made a comeback probably in the fall and in the spring where we had a lot of it. And so a tighter box like this just shows more consistent numbers as well, or even here very consistent numbers as far as percent POA cover. So you can see all these treatments doing a pretty good job of suppressing POA. We have Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces per acre. That's equal to 8 ounces of the old formulation of Anuew WDG. Here's Anuew EZ at 9 fluid ounces, so half of that previous rate, plus trim it at 6 ounces. So giving us a little bit more POA suppression. Trim it at 12 ounces. Anuew EZ at 18, trim it at 5. A little more Anuew in this particular mix than we had in this orange bar, but giving us some pretty low numbers at times. And then Anuew plus Velocity. So Velocity is a post-emergence herbicide for Anuew bluegrass. And so this one you'll see there's very little Anuew bluegrass overall, but you'll also see the quality was pretty low with this post-emergence herbicide and Velocity. And then we looked at some others with Dimension here, and then Primo Max is this last one, which again, high POA populations with Primo Max. Here's the quality. And I think this is what really helps to put all of this in perspective. Remember, the goal is to suppress POA, but maintain high quality fairways. And you can see how, in my book, if you're above 6, 6.5, that's decent quality of fairway. And Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces per acre, really providing a high quality turf. And then Anuew plus trim it over here, more variability. So at times it was maybe too much suppression, and so you lost some of that overall quality, but other times it was very high quality. So a little more variability there. Look at this one with Velocity. You had some pretty low quality. Look at that bottom whisker. Low quality at times with Velocity, and then probably when all that Anuew bluegrass was gone and bentgrass took over, our quality went up. So Anuew was just kind of a cool product to see suppress POA, but also maintain really high quality fairways, and also see that you can start mixing with trim it to get a little bit more aggressive with POA suppression, but also able to maintain that quality as well. I mentioned the snow mold timing. This was something I did in 2021 where I applied obviously these treatments were applied every 2 weeks during the growing seasons for 4 years. And then in this it would have been the third of 4 years, in the end of it, I applied a couple treatments. So Anuew at 18 fluid ounces per acre plus trim it at 5 fluid ounces. That's Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces per acre. And then Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces per acre on its own. So that means that Anuew at 18 fluid ounces per acre was applied every 2 weeks for 4 years. But also in that end of the third year, it was applied at the snow mold timing. And this is kind of what occurred. You can see how dark green these plots are, how few seed heads are within these plots as well. They just look absolutely awesome. It's kind of like that embark look if you've ever applied embark. So the quality was sky high, and I also saw a big jump or a big reduction in the Anuew bluegrass in these particular plots after that snow mold timing. Just wanted to show some seed head suppression numbers. So this is seed heads on a scale from 1 to 9. A taller bar meant more seed heads. So if you'll recall, Anuew at 8 ounces or Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces, so those are the same rates or equivalent rates, versus trim it at 12 ounces. In the previous slides, they reduced POA very similarly. But here you can see that regular applications of Anuew provided really, really strong seed head suppression. And this treatment was never applied at the snow mold timing. This one was not. It's just Anuew applied every 2 weeks, Anuew EZ at 18 fluid ounces per acre, and did a really good job suppressing seed heads in 2022 especially, whereas other treatments like Primo did not, trim it on its own did not. Thanks for listening to Anuew Bluegrass Suppression with Anuew EZ. If you ever have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at aaron.hathaway@newfarm.com.